What's up everybody, John here again at metalaviation.com, and we got a little bonus video for you. We're going to go over the watt meter, how it works, what it does. I'm going to make this quick because it doesn't really entail a lot. The watt meter is pretty simple to use. It will save you some money in the long run, so it's well worth the investment. Watt meter is going to cost you anywhere from 15 to 60 bucks depending on where you buy it and what kind you get. I don't really care what kind you get. Search around and find one you really like a lot that looks cool and is in your price range and buy it. But really quick, here's how it works. Okay, the watt meter goes in line between your electronic speed control and your battery. So we got the battery right here. We have electronic speed control. We plug the watt meter in. Now don't do this with this stuff hanging out like this when you do it, because you're gonna end up, well, if there's a prop on here, no big deal, but you're really gonna get no use out of it. This thing needs to be propped up, which means have a prop on it, be in your plane, all set up when you test it. But this is just a quick overview how we're gonna set it up. So we set this bad boy up like this. We take the watt meter, we plug it into the electronic speed control, which you should have watched the video already. Plug it in, and then plug our battery into the watt meter, and we hear the motor beep. Thank you, motor. So now on our watt meter we're going to get a reading. This particular watt meter, every time you press the button, it's going to tell you either voltage, watts, amps, blah blah, whatever. I don't even know because I don't have it memorized. I just click it when I use it. So we have volts, amps, watts, milliamps, and that's it. I usually use this for the amp rating to see what kind of amps I'm pulling on the motor. Once I know I'm pulling the correct amount of amps that's not going to burn the motor up, then I'll go ahead and check my watts out and make sure I'm all in the right area for that motor. So what you want to do is once this is hooked up, you want to put it on whatever reading you want to check. So we'll say we're going to check amps, and even though it's not hooked up, so we got set the amps, go full throttle on your transmitter, look at the screen, and you'll see how many amps you're pulling if you're checking amps. And do that for everything, amps, watts, voltage. You can see everything that's going on and make sure your power system's set up correctly. And that's it. That's basically how it works. It's very, very simple to use. And again, in the long run, it's going to save you some money. I'm going to unplug this because it keeps beeping. I use this thing on every plane I set up. Well, not every plane, because a lot of them I know exactly what motor I'm going to use. Then I'll know what speed control. Most of the park jets I have, I use pretty much the same setup. So I did use this when I very first, got that combination going, when I saw a motor that I really liked that looked like it would work well on my jets. So I got that motor, hooked it up, put on the speed control, tested it out with the watt meter, got the right prop on it, made sure it worked with the prop I wanted to use. And that's how I came up with the combination of the power system that I use in my park jets and in any other, plane that I design as well. So watt meter is very handy. Anyone that tells you they don't use a watt meter, they do all kinds of crazy stuff just by feeling it, putting it on their lips and face or whatever, that's baloney. You need a watt meter. It's well worth the money. It's going to save you a lot, and you're going to know you're optimizing your motor. You might put a motor in that you think is going to work fine, and it may be working fine, and you never put a watt meter on it. You put the watt meter on it and you realize, wow, I could put a bigger prop on this. I could put a bigger battery on this. You might not be optimizing that motor that you have. So I definitely suggest getting a watt meter. Again, it goes in between your battery and your speed control. It'll give you a readout right on screen. This one, I have to press a button in between, what type of readout I want to get, whether it's amps, volts, whatever. Some of them are really nice. They have every reading on screen. It's really cool. They make one that's really small that you can actually put in the plane, and it'll keep the highest reading that it gets in flight. So you can see the max amount of amps you're pulling, the max watts it's putting out. You can check all that in flight. So when you come back down the ground, you look at it and say, oh wow, I was pulling a lot less amps than I thought I was, because when you check on the ground, it's static, meaning the plane's not going anywhere, and that's putting a lot more of a load on the propeller. And again, you're going to pull more amps at that. Once that plane's flying through the air and cutting through the wind, there's not as much load on the prop, and you're going to pull less amps. So that particular watt meter is sweet. Anyway, I went into this a lot further than I wanted to. I wanted this only to be a couple-minute video because it's pretty simple to see how this thing works. But I just wanted to kind of get into a little bit more detail about all the different things it can do and how it can help you. This is a must-have in your flight kit. You can help your buddies out at the field if you have one. If they've never tested their motors out and they don't know how many watts they're pulling, or if they're going to burn their motor up or not, it's just a nice tool to have. Definitely recommend getting one. Again, a must-have for your flight kit. The watt meter. That's it. Haven't shaved either in a while. Anyway, I'm out. Later.